Hi, you know me, the world-class YouTube influencer Atilla Yeşilara, the only person on this planet who tells the truth about Turkey and all matters related to Turkey. Today, I'm going to present you with a video which I am sure all of you will enjoy because the topic is real estate. Yeah, everyone loves real estate, right? And real estate is in trouble all over the world. I'm going to make a very controversial proposal and try to prove it to you in the next 20 minutes. The proposal is that Chinese real estate crises and Turkey's impending real estate collapse are similar to each other in several subtle but important aspects. Huh? Think about that. Chinese real estate crisis, major global topic. Turkey, real estate crisis. You didn't know there was a real estate crisis. Oh, just a second. I forgot my coffee. I gotta get my coffee. Sorry, folks. My psychiatrist tells me I'm a dipsomaniac, which is the disease of constantly putting something liquid in your mouth, and I can't live without Java. Okay, and finally, at the end of this video, I'm going to throw in a bonus. I'm going to enlighten you on a very peculiar Turkish housing problem, urban renewal, or earthquake-proofing the entire housing stock of a nation of 85 million people. Let's get started. Essentially, four sections in this video. A, the state of play in China's housing crisis. It's going to get worse and solving it, even if the national will is there, is going to take a decade. B, why, in ways not noticed by most of you and most of the experts, China and Turkey's problems are increasingly resembling each other. Three, I'm going to prove evidence that Turkey's housing collapse has started and it's irreversible. That's going to be the bulk of the video where the meat is. And finally, why Turkey's problems will become intractable because of a dilemma. A, major earthquakes can happen at any minute. B, most of the housing stock is not earthquake proof. Three, when you earthquake proof the residential structures, you inevitably increase the supply, which is extremely deflationary. Okay, state of play in China. Oh my God. Essentially, Chinese house prices are still falling. There is a huge amount of vacant housing units. The value of three, a lot of construction companies cannot finish projects, and all of these projects are pre-sold. In other words, contrary to the experience of most Western developed countries, but also similar to Turkey, Chinese pick a house from the project stage and then they pay in installments, which helps the construction company finance and build the project and then take over their homes in 2-3 years when the project is completed. The amount of the monetary value of vacant housing and those where construction stopped could be as high as $5 trillion. That's 5% of global GDP. Two, Chinese real estate crisis has metastasized. Banks have huge exposure to mortgages which can't be paid back because house prices are falling and incomes are stagnant. B, local administrations largely rely on selling national or local property to developers or co-developing projects for social and welfare financing. Three, the household incomes are no longer rising and the Chinese population is getting older very rapidly, which means there really won't be much demand for new housing until prices fall significantly. And four, Xi Jinping doesn't want to solve the problem. This is important and perhaps the only point I shall elaborate regarding China. Look, every day, if you're interested in these subjects, you would get up and open your favorite news site and you will hear China has adopted a new measure, the latest of which is an effort to buy unused housing and help construction companies finish their projects. The state plans to devote less than $100 billion to the problem, which is a huge amount of money for any other country. In China, it just doesn't even tackle the problem. Also, China is cutting interest rates or losing financial conditions to help people buy more houses and to make sure that the housing crisis doesn't spread to national income growth. It's once again investing into export capacity, which is pissing off the rest of the world. China has for a long time wanted to change its growth model from export driven and manufacturing driven to one that's based on high technology, services, and where domestic consumption and exports are balanced. Now it had to dropped that idea. It's building huge capacity in areas like electric vehicles and components thereof. And its exports are so aggressive, it threatens to destroy the industrial base in Europe, Japan, and the United States. And of course, these countries are taking measures, protectionist measures, which is bad for both sides and for the global economy. I mean, it's so bad that even Turkey, the trade relationship of which with China is minuscule, $15 billion a year, I suppose, out of total foreign trade of maybe $500 billion or so, has a few days ago passed a new regulation which imposes 40% additional import taxes on all imported Chinese vehicles. And the share of Chinese vehicles in the Turkish domestic market is 5%. Maybe not even that. So this is the state of play in China. It's going to get worse because the solution is simple but extremely awkward, costly. You establish a state agency, a fund, which takes over all the unfinished construction projects and finishes them quickly, giving them to their rightful owners. B, a parallel agency or the same agency buying all the unused or most of the, vacant housing and disposes of them slowly in a way that would not disrupt the market prices. It can be done. It's going to take trillions of dollars spread over years, but Xi Jinping doesn't want to do it. It's just against his values to give people freebies. So it's going to get worse, and it's going to affect global economic and financial stability in many ways. Let's move on to the most controversial aspect of this video, which is the resemblance between Chinese and Turkey's crises or problems. The key ingredient of every financial bubble and thereafter crises is the belief or the conviction that the prices will go up forever. That is the ingredient that brought China to where it is today. For decades, people believed you buy a house, its value is going to go up. It's not only shelter, but also a good investment. Now that's changing in China. It's, compounding the problems. In Turkey, people still believe just buy property. There's high inflation. The financial sector is all corrupt. Property will always gain value. Two, in both countries, the real estate construction problems are posing a significant threat to macroeconomic and financial stability as well as to social peace. Turkish housing prices are becoming unaffordable. People demand housing, and the state cannot find a solution to that. Three, both are going to get worse before they get better. To be perfectly honest, there is also a very important aspect of the housing problems in both countries, which is peculiar to Turkey, and I'm going to address that at the end of this video. This is earthquake-proofing the whole housing stock business. Okay, now let's move on to Turkish state of play and why I'm proposing here that the collapse has started. In the latest dataset, official dataset coming from April, Turkish house prices declined in real terms, first time in 5 years. They've gone up straight. Real meaning, the nominal price month to month has appreciated less than inflation that month. So, real price decline. And if you look at Turkish macroeconomic policy and the income distribution in the country, this is not going to get better. Let me explain. The biggest enemy of any housing market is mortgage interest rates. If mortgage interest rates rise, housing demand goes down. That's sort of like the iron law of the housing market. And Turkey's primary macroeconomic preoccupation, that of taming inflation, will require at least 3 years of high interest rates. That means interest rates at a level to depress economic activity. Obviously, depending on inflation, what high interest rates is something different. I'm talking about both ex-ante and ex-post real rates. So the mortgage component of the housing market is going to be destroyed. Two, while Turkish GDP per capita is increasing, and increasing fairly rapidly, I think over the last 5 years or so, Turkey's total GDP rose from $750 billion to $1,100 billion as of end of 2023, and per capita increased somewhere from $9,000 to $12,000. I don't do numbers. I do ballpark. But you see, the median incomes are not increasing, and that's where housing demand is. The average household is experiencing stagnation. That's a problem that most American viewers will be familiar with. I mean, you look at national statistics. Biden up to be 20 percentage points ahead of Trump because he's doing such a good job in terms of fighting inflation and, raising the growth rate of the economy. But, it doesn't trickle down to the average household. That's the problem in Turkey. Income distribution is getting worse. So Turkey is getting richer, but the rich are getting richer. The poor are getting poorer, and the middle class is just treading water in its place. Two, in a related manner, or perhaps restating the problem, two critical demand segments have abandoned the market. A, foreigners, who were at best 3-4% of the market, but they determined the marginal price and created a lot of hype, which attracted domestic buyers as investors into the market. Why? Because Turkish houses are too expensive. I mean, on a per square meter basis, Istanbul and Antalya and Bodrum are now as expensive as Paris or London. I'm sorry. Two, mortgage purchases, which used to make up 30% of monthly sales, have now declined to 12% or so for the reasons I have explained. And these two things, these two segments of demand will not come back to the market until prices fall significantly. This is why prices have to fall. At the current level of pricing, the demand simply cannot match the amount of houses to be sold on the market. As a result, not only are real prices declining, but the average time a property for sale remains in the market is getting much longer. Now, this is official data. If you look at private data like those published regularly with Betam, a think tank in Istanbul, Turkish real estate prices have been declining in real terms for a year. As I've said, Turkish monetary policy is not tight enough. I am almost certain that in the fourth quarter of the year, interest rates will have to be raised again because inflation currently at 75% will decline to 50% or so and will get stuck at that point. And there are no other factors that will help Turkey disinflate in 25 and 2026. Remember, in best case scenario, year-end inflation is going to be around 50%. Price stability, or the level at which people are comfortable and no longer complain about inflation, in Turkey, single digits. How do you get from 50% to 9% or so? Tighter monetary policy, tighter fiscal policy, which means higher mortgage rates, slower income growth. So you have this triple whammy. A, important segments of demand have evaporated. B, you're going to have higher interest rates and slower income growth, both of which are disastrous for housing purchases. How much will house prices adjust? God, I don't know. When I started my job, the rule of thumb was that the fair price of a house is 12 years worth of rental income. That idea has been abandoned. It's not, it's no longer true. But in Turkey, I think the price to rental income ratio is like 30 years, and that's too much, maybe 20, until the average or median price declines to 20 years worth of rental income. Then I would consider housing prices fair. Let me put it this way. The adjustment will not end until Turkey starts cutting real interest rates, until Turkish inflation declines to, say, 10%. And that's no less than 3 years. So 3 years of pain. And what will happen at the end of that 3 years is exactly what happened in China. People will have lost their belief that housing prices will increase, which would also slow housing prices and demand, simply because when you believe that the price of something you need is going to go up tomorrow, you somehow find the money to buy it today. That's the rational behavior. If you think prices are going to decline, you're going to take your time. You're going to, window shop. You're going to wait another year or two. And that's really negative for housing demand. Implications. Now, Chinese property crisis destroys economic growth and stability. The share of construction/real estate related activities to GDP was as high as 25%. That's probably declining to 20%. A huge portion of private sector fixed investment came from construction and real estate related activities. That's decimated. People's consumption is based on their expected income and on their perceived wealth. Income is more important, but wealth also contributes quite a bit. Chinese never consumed enough, but now they're going to consume even less of their income simply because their primary source of wealth, property, is declining in value. So, that that's sort of a negative feedback effect or vicious cycle that depresses housing prices, depresses consumption. Banks are hugely exposed to real estate, mortgage, and construction loans. Trillions of dollars of loans will have to be written off, and their capital adequacy is in question. This is a very well-known point among economists. And you look at China, there are these shadow cities. What do you do with them? Huge amount of resources have been wasted in building houses no one will ever buy or sit in, and craziness goes on. In Turkey, the problem is more modest. Banking sector has a significant exposure to construction loans and to mortgages, but mortgages are fairly safe. Turks are very loyal to their debt. Debt default ratios are very low in Turkey. And also, almost all of these mortgages are contracted at very low nominal rates. Inflation has eroded their value. So it's not a problem from a consumption perspective, but banks will have to write some loans, but mortgage loans is not a large portion of their portfolio. We don't exactly know what portion of their total loans are dedicated to construction companies, something like 10%. They may have to write that off too. But that sort of fades in the overall banking problem of Turkey. Turkey has the largest share of zombie companies in the world that IMF has managed to track as of last year. And as Turkey is moving from Erdogan's crazy economic policy set to more rational policies, these zombie companies will have to be liquidated. Some of them will survive, most of them can't. If you shut them down, there would be huge losses for employment and how to deal with that. Which companies are zombie companies and what's the exposure of banks to the loans of these companies? So that's the bigger picture, and real estate is just, a piece of the puzzle in there. It's not deadly, but it just adds to the overall problem that needs to be solved once Mehmet Şimşek brings Turkey to stable inflation. Now, the final portion, Turkey's urban renewal project. Look, Turkey is like California, like 95% of it is on an active fault zone, fault line, or around it, and would be decimated by the spreading shocks of an earthquake. Most of us who watch Turkey regularly would remember the devastating Marmara earthquake of 1997, I believe. And obviously everyone remembers. I mean, the whole human civilization remembers probably the worst earthquake of the 21st century, the one we had in Hatay, Gaziantep, in the southern provinces of Turkey this February. Still, hundreds of thousands of people live in temporary shelters. Roughly 1 million people have fled the region to other cities, and they can't survive there because they are not necessarily rich. This is going to happen again. I mean, we know, just looking at the historical record, Istanbul will have another earthquake that will be worse than 1997. It could happen tomorrow, as I shoot this video, or within the next 30 years. There is periodicity, but assigning a value to frequency is extremely difficult. But this is such a huge problem with devastating impact on everything you can imagine, from personal psychology to economic development, that it must be addressed now. It's not easy to earthquake-proof Istanbul. I mean, Erdogan is talking about replacing 100,000 units or apartments. He's never clear on that. See, most Turks live in apartments, not in single dwellings. And there's a huge difference between renewing or earthquake-proofing 100,000 apartments and 100,000 flats. Okay? I think it was OECD or World Bank which issued a report which determined that the cost of earthquake-proofing Turkey's residential and commercial structures would cost something like $250 billion, or roughly 25% of Turkish GDP. Of course, it will have to be spread over the years, but you have to start as soon as possible. But the problem is the effort to earthquake-proof Turkey's housing stock is destroying the equilibrium in the housing market. First, it reduces supply significantly and puts significant upward pressure on rents. In a few years, it increases supply at an amazing level and acts as a deflationary force on housing prices. Let me explain how you renew or earthquake-proof your apartment. Essentially, most of it will have to be torn down and new apartments will have to be built. The way we do these things in Turkey is that the flat owners get together and vote, pass a resolution to put up their apartment for urban renewal. They find a local construction company and they reach an agreement on financing on the share of new flats that will be given to apartment owners versus the share that the construction company takes to make profit on. Almost without exemptions, thanks to lax zoning regulations, the ratio of new flats that will be built to existing flats is 1.5. So if you tear down an apartment with 10 units in it, 10 flats. You build one with 15. So what happens? As the whole process of urban renewal starts, you start tearing down apartments, but there are few completed projects. So people who used to live in those flats have to find rentals, move somewhere else, etc., etc., which puts upward pressure on rents. Obviously, if rents increase, then housing as an investment becomes more profitable and housing prices increase, which depresses demand in other segments of the market. But in a few years, you reach a point where houses being torn are fewer than apartments being offered for sale or returned to their owners. So they move from their rentals to their new houses. Rents decline, which depresses housing prices. And suddenly you have more housing units coming to the market than those being destroyed. So, when supply increases faster than quantity demanded, prices decline. Let me finish this video on a very cheerful note. If you are familiar with this channel, knowing that I'll probably be wrong, I always end the video with a prediction of how things will work themselves out. The cheerful thought is maybe the housing crises in countries like China and Turkey will never end. They will become a permanent part of life, like Japanese deflation. Why? Because population growth is slowing down. In China, population is declining. We know because China no longer publishes national census data. In Turkey, population growth was nil last year. Now, of course, it was a very exceptional year. At least 50,000 people died in the earthquake. And thanks to Erdogan's liberal and friendly policies, Turks are fleeing the country by swimming, flying, or jumping over the fence. At least 500,000 people a year. So that temporarily depressed the population growth rate. But if you look at demographic dynamics, both countries are aging rapidly, so much so that by 2030, China's active labor force will start shrinking, which also means since workers demand houses, new families, housing demand will be depressed for the foreseeable future. In Turkey, in 15 years, entrance to the labor force would be less than people who retire that year. Clearly, we will need less housing. See, some problems have no solutions. They just get worse forever. Well, this has been a lengthy video. Thanks for watching. I have a very small audience and I don't make any money out of this. But I enjoy doing it. Do you know why? I mean, I'm not exaggerating. I'm meeting some of the people who watch my videos. I make money by consulting Turkish and international companies on Turkish politics and economy, as some of you know. Last week, in dinner with global funds who visit Turkey, a person I was introduced said, "Yeah, I know you. I watch your videos." Wow, it's just, this is the kind of thing that makes my day and motivates me to shoot more videos. If you like it, subscribe, push the bell button, whatever, and enjoy your life. This is Atilla Yeşilara. This has been a video for Real Turkey channel. Goodbye.